They learned off each other. This is socially learned behaviour.
Social learning, well, advanced social learning, that's thought to be something which is peculiarly human. And it comes in the form of when an individual can learn something which it couldn't otherwise learn throughout the entire course of its life. And that leads to something called cumulative culture. And again, that's something that I think only we can do it. Now, as an example, imagine a laptop. I couldn't build from scratch a laptop in my entire lifetime. Not from scratch, but I could, if I sat in a factory watching someone put one together, I could mimic that, I could copy it and I could put it together. I mean, I wouldn't buy it when I'd finished, to be quite honest with you, but I could do that. And up until recently, indeed March of this year, it was thought that only humans could do this, but that's been challenged in 2 papers. The first was about chimpanzees, and I know what you're thinking, well, if anything's going to come close to human capacity, it's the chimpanzee. But the other was more interesting. It was published by Dr. Alice Bridges and Professor Lars Chittka from Queen Mary University in London, and it was their study of bumblebees. Now take a look at this. They put this choice chamber together, which they put bees into. And here is a little pot of nectar. But to get that nectar, the bee has to complete a 2-stage task. It has to push this door up here. Oh, hold on. It has to push this door up here so it stays open like that. And once it's got that open, it can then push this across here like this, and then it can get to the nectar. So it's got to do those 2 things in order. So what they did was they put a group of bees in here for 8 days. That's about 1/3 of their lifetime. And what they found was if they just put them in here, they could never get to the nectar. They simply couldn't solve that. But then they took another group of bees and they trained them, took them a couple of days, just 2 days. They trained the bee to do exactly this, to push that flange up and then push that flange over and get to that. Then they did something interesting. This is the crux. They put a bee that had never been in the chamber before with one of the bees that they'd trained. Take a look at this. Here you can see one of the bees very proactively going through what it had learned in that couple of days of training, and the other bee, the naive bee, following it around. And what they noticed was that they would tap each other's antennae. They found that 1/3 of all of the naive bees they put in could learn that behaviour by copying the other bee in the space of just 2 days, when previously they just simply couldn't do it. This is social learning in insects, which is remarkable because we thought it was just down to us humans. Even more remarkable when I tell you that the brain of a bumblebee is the size of a full stop and has 1 million neurons in it. The human brain, on the other hand, much larger as you know, and has 100 billion neurons in it. So it's not to do with brain size or how many neurons you've got, it's to do with the need to understand possibly this type of learning in order to prosper. But advanced social learning in bumblebees is absolutely fantastic.
Do you know, it is amazing, and that experiment and the explanation is absolutely amazing, but sometimes I do think we're a little bit arrogant to think that we're the clever ones, and isn't it remarkable that they can do the same things as us? Whereas I think, yeah, they're probably doing the same thing as us all the time with their brains. But yeah, I mean, interesting stuff.
Fantastic stuff.
And I think we are socially learning from each other all the time. I know, I watch you and I know that you are learning to be sociable from me. Is that something different?
Well, I mean, I haven't made much progress in the last, I don't know what, 30 years, have I really?
I think basically we're all socially learning of each other.
Trying to drag me into a bar of the evening is quite difficult, isn't it?